Okay, welcome back. I'm over here and you're looking at the airplane obviously, and this video is going to be about the battery check. Every time I build an airplane, I always want to make sure I know exactly how the battery is going to behave, and so this is a full-on test of the battery. And so what I'm going to do is, first off, let me explain what, the battery is 5 cells, nominal voltage is 1.2, maximum voltage per cell is, let's say, 1.4. So 5 times 1.4 is 7.0. The minimum voltage, the nominal voltage at 1.2 would be 6.0. And the minimum voltage, as far as I'm concerned, is 1 volt per cell, which would make it 5. So 5 volts minimum, 6 volts nominal, 7 volts maximum. And so what I'm going to do is test the battery before we start. I've got my hanging iron voltmeter, and I don't know if I said this before or not. I got 3 of these. They're so great. I got one for my bench. This is just for the bench, and then I have one to carry around, and I actually have a spare one that I use. That's actually going to be for this airplane. So the voltmeter first. Let's do a check. And on the airplane here, I've got a black dot. That black dot just above the unit here shows where the black wire is. That sort of is a reminder, so I put the black wire on that black dot, and don't push the airplane over. And let me see if I can zoom in on that. So you can see it's 3.6. So this battery's been used a little bit. I've got the setting here at a half an amp, 0.5 amps, and I'm going to hit the load button, and so it drops down to 9.2, 9.1. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, that's 5.92 or 5.91. Okay, in that range with a half amp. So that's okay. I think this airplane is probably going to draw about the half amp range with everything working. We'll find out. But I'm going to also do a test at the 1 amp range. So 1 amp draw, still 6.34. If I put a 1 amp load on it, it's going to drop it down to 5.0, 5.49, 48. That's a full load. And so we'll see how that compares to the test that we're about to do. I'm not going to do the 2 amp load because I don't think many airplanes are going to draw 2 amps unless you got a bunch of lights and extra servos and that kind of stuff. So that's the initial test before we start the airplane. Let me zoom back out. And so what I'm going to do is tilt the airplane back up right a little. There we go. We don't want to be flying crooked there. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the radio. And the radio comes up. And it's up and working. I'm going to turn on the receiver. Give that a chance to warm up. Now, in the telemetry screen, you can see, let me get a little closer here, you can see that the volts say 6.0 and the receiver 6.2. There is a slight difference between what the receiver is seeing, what the volts are. That's okay. That's just the way it is. Temperature 73 degrees in my shop, obviously. It's not 73 degrees outside, I tell you. So what I'm going to do is let's see here. Okay, so there's the min and the max voltage. We're going to monitor that as we cycle through the servos. So this is going to be a 15-minute test. So what I'm going to do is change the timer to 15 minutes. I got 15 minutes on the clock. Here we go. So now the clock is going to start count down for 15 minutes. Now I'm going to start and stop the video so you don't have to watch all 15 minutes. But basically what I'm going to do is sit here with the timer going and the telemetry and the min and max voltage. But basically I'm going to watch this screen right here, the telemetry screen, and I'm going to move the throttle around, okay, and then move all the servos, okay, and as I do that I see the voltage dropping. If I move everything at the same time, I'm just doing, you know, cycling everything around and around, and as I do that,
time remaining 14 minutes.
The volts dropped instantaneously down to 4.8. Excuse me. But the receiver was 5.2. So that was an instantaneous voltage drop. The volts still say 6.2, and as you watch this, the average drop is like 5. I can see it drop down to like 5.3. So I'm just going to sit here and play with it for 15 minutes, and we'll see how we do. So right now the time is 13:15. I'm going to stop the video and pick it up a little later. Okay, as you can see, I'm coming up on 11 minutes, and
time remaining 11 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said. And what I'm doing is I'm testing each servo one at a time. So I go full servo elevate rudder left and right, and I watch to see if the voltage drops significantly. And if it drops significantly, it means the servo is binding on something. Something's causing it to stop, because when a servo binds, it draws a lot of current. And so I'm going to cycle through each throttle up, throttle down, no big change, rudder left and right, rudder left and right. And so mostly because the travel adjust has been adjusted downward for all of the servos, you shouldn't get any servo binding, because servo binding means it's hit its limit. So ailerons left, ailerons right, and elevator up and down. And with doing all that, I'm still in the 5.9 range, and so we'll keep plugging along here at 9:42. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, time remaining is?
Time remaining 7 minutes.
Okay, so I figured I'd give you a shot of watching the rudder and elevators all move around, and it's entertaining just to watch these little suckers move back and forth. The voltage, as I'm watching this, the voltage here is dropping down to 5.8, and you can see that the receiver voltage is 6.2. So that's the minimum I'm seeing while I'm doing this, is 5.8. And so battery's in pretty good shape, but we'll go through all the time. And We're now on coming up on 6 minutes, and we're cruising without power right now.
Time remaining 6 minutes.
Okay, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes to go. Everything's looking good, and we're still cycling through. Still reading with everything neutral. Let's see, there it is. 5.9 on the voltage, 6.2 on the receiver, and we'll keep going. Be back in a minute. Okay, 50 seconds to go. And this is a lot more usage. There's the 30-second warning. And there's a lot more usage than you would do on an average flight, believe me. Cycling all these full tilt. Okay, we're done. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the radio, turn off the airplane, pushing in my button. And then I'm going to do one last check of the voltage here. And okay, it disappeared. Telemetry has disappeared. And so I'm going to turn this off. And then I'll zoom in a little bit to here so you can see what the this thing says. So now I'm down to 6.28, and I'll do a 0.5 amp load, and it drops down to 5.87. And if I do a 1 amp load, 6.28 drops down to 5.5. Okay, and so that to me is a pretty good battery. It's this sort of simulates, again, real world conditions where the battery was used before we started. Maybe it had 1 or 2 flights on it, maybe 3 even. And so even after all, this one other flight, this battery is working well. So I'm going to claim this test to be successful. And thank you for watching, and hope you enjoy the next one. Thank you.